Hello. As you know, I contribute to a newspaper called Psychic World that comes out monthly or sometimes bi-monthly, and that's published and edited by Candy Taylor, a friend of my old friend Ray Taylor, who is now editor-in-spirit. And in the current publication, it's called Power of the Spirit in the Printed Word. So I'd like to read it to you. In this increasingly technological age, an age of electronic data transference, writings from ancient texts through to modern books and periodicals, all downloadable onto myriad portable devices, why do people who are able to read still like what we call hard copy, printed on sheets of paper? I, for one, am immensely reassured when I look at my bookshelves crammed with other people's thoughts. It's like a memory stick. Each title reminds me of the author and the information they've laid down therein. Each title reminds me of the author and the information they have laid down therein, whether fact or fiction. And this also reminds me that time is never-endingly moving forward, and yet can be made to run backwards and stand still there by picking up a book or journal once read 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, or even 70 years ago by oneself, that on reading it again takes one back to revisit one's own past. The authors too, whether having recently committed their thoughts to paper or those who lived here a very long time ago, some whose writing stretches back into antiquity, are in this new time frame all present with you. And I also enjoy picking up a magazine or newspaper, turning over its pages at random times, sometimes years later after its publication date, to read what is contained therein. The physical connection, just holding the book or periodical, links you to both the material world you lived in a long time ago, the people who occupied that time and space with you, and the thoughts that existed in your mind back then. I remember after inheriting my mother's books, how as I looked through them, I would come across a marker with handwritten notes telling me her thoughts on a particular passage. I was also pleased and surprised to find a couple of my father's books that had once been on our living room bookshelf in the old days when my parents lived together, that I remember him reading as a small child, that my mother had kept secretly in her own collection, perhaps at least partly for the reasons I've opined. My most valued gifts have always been printed books, and the books on Egyptian hieroglyphics and Wagner's Ring Cycle that were given me by my father rank with the best. The little red-covered hardback volume of Little Women I received for progress from my primary school head teacher in my last term there, and its main character, the rebellious and tomboyish Joe March, who became a writer, led me to wonder in later life whether he was actually psychic. Having access on digital device would just not have been the same for me, and I suspect a lot of readers feel the same way. Importantly, there is a method for receiving messages from guides, helpers and loved ones in spirit that needs access to a book one can hold in your hand. You can get something for someone else, a communication from spirit for a group of people, large or small, or yourself. You can request spiritual guidance for any situation. All you need is a book with nice words in it. Possibly a hymn book such as the New Christian Spiritualist Society Little Blue Hymn Book, the Spiritualist Hymn Book published by the SNU, or even the Book of Psalms. You can find the latter in the Bible, but I don't particularly recommend using it in its entirety of its other books for this purpose, mainly because there's a lot of what we spiritualists would consider negative writings on its pages. Holding the book, you send out your thoughts to those who help us in the realms of light, and say a prayer of thanks. Dear Lord, I thank you for all your mercies to me and my family and friends, for the healing we've all received throughout our lives here on earth. I ask now for some help for, and here you say for whom, and I know that those who care for us will guide me to the passage most significant at this time. Amen. Now, open the book and let your gaze be drawn to the writing. Or you may like, with eyes still closed, to allow your finger to point to a piece and then read when you open your eyes again. I'll do this now for all of us, and this is what I did. And I received this. It was written by Society of Friends member John Whittier in 1872. That's the Quakers, of course. Dear Lord and Father of mankind, forgive our foolish ways. Reclothe us in our rightful mind. In purer lives thy service find, in deeper reverence praise. O Sabbath rest by Galilee, O calm of hills above, where Jesus knelt to share with thee the silence of eternity interpreted by love. Drop thy still dews of quietness till all our striving cease, and take from our souls the strain and stress, and let our ordered lives confess the beauty of thy peace. Breathe through the heats of our desire thy coolness and thy balm. Let sense be dumb, let flesh retire. Speak through the earthquake, wind and fire, O still small voice of calm. In simple trust, like theirs who heard beside the Syrian sea the gracious calling of the Lord, let us, like them, without a word, rise up and follow thee. Transcending time, space and distance, thus it's proved that our prayers are heard and loved ones, guides and helpers are listening to us. This is so very relevant to our present discourse. There. And I signed off, of course, as Rev Lyn Gibb-de Swarte. And I'm very happy that I'm an ordained spiritualist minister, that I do follow Jesus, and I like to try to have mind of his example and his teachings. And that was mostly the two golden commandments. That is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and soul and mind, and to love one another. There. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this chat, my reading of my article, and if you want to buy a Psychic World newspaper, it is quite possible. They have a Facebook page, Psychic World, and I also have Facebook pages, as you know, because I no doubt you're seeing me on that, and there is also a New Christian Spiritualist Society Facebook page and website for more information, www.newchristianspiritualistsociety.com. Well, I hope and pray that you are well, that you stay well, and that if you are sick or unwell, that you will be helped and given healing as we speak together at this time. God bless you, and I will speak to you again soon. Goodbye for now. Fare thee well.